Hi everybody, Dave Sullivan here for the Credit Guy TV with a special interview with somebody who was actually successful in removing a state tax lien. You know, I get a lot of questions about the federal IRS tax lien and how that can be removed. People always ask about a state tax lien, and I found Wesley who was able to actually get that removed. So Wesley, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the state lien got on the credit report?
We had a landlord issue, and they took us to court and won. So they got a money judgment, and it went right on my credit report. That's basically the long and short of it.
Sure. Yeah, so that went on your, that was a judgment. The court found that you were liable for the amount of money.
Yep.
And then they started to report it on your credit report.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
So then we got involved with a credit repair company, and then found out through you that that's just not the way to go. So we let them go and just went through the internet scouring, trying to figure out how this was going to work and how we could get rid of it, because we were trying to buy a house. And of course, that being so fresh, there's just not going to do it.
Yeah, a lot of people turn to a credit repair company, and I really feel like people who are motivated, like Wesley, are able to do a better job than a credit repair company. And normally you're paying the credit repair company, you know, an amount of money every month that could be used to pay down debt. So I really recommend people who are motivated that they try this on their own, and that's what Wesley did.
Yes,
and I'm
sir.
very impressed with what he was able to accomplish. So what did you do? How did you start to step forward with the process of getting the judgment removed?
Well, after we had paid it, and of course it shows up paid on there, so I was kind of happy about that. I didn't know if that was going to be good or bad with the banks. They don't care. The banks don't. If it's on there, it's bad.
Right.
So we scoured and scoured, and I found this section of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 609.
Okay.
Okay. Or U.S. Code 1681, depending on what you're looking for. And it says that they are required to send you documentation that they used to verify that this belongs to you.
So the validation of debt portion,
Yes.
correct?
The thing is, they have to send you documents that they did you. They have to verify that that's you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went around and we looked and we looked, and I finally found this. I wrote the letter. I wrote it. I probably didn't do it right because we were new. You know, I was, you know. So I figured out where we got everything right to where we sent it in, and they would send it back, new information. Second letter, new information. Third letter, deleted. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Really? So I was really impressed. I'm like, oh my goodness, it just came off our credit report. And to be honest with you, it took it up. Had to be 40 points.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Easily 40 points.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my goodness. I showed my wife, I'm like, look, we got, we were all excited. So that was one of the big things. But the biggest thing is we didn't give up.
Yeah,
So
so important.
Yeah, very important. Got to be patient.
So you wrote them a validation of debt letter, correct?
Well, no, I wrote them a letter saying you need to send me some documentation.
Okay.
Not a validation of debt. It wasn't so much about the debt. What are you using to verify that's me? Because all you really got was some stuff off a computer.
Right.
You got no actual paperwork.
Right.
And that's where the issue lies. They take it right off of a computer screen. They don't know if that's you.
Mm-hmm.
They get the information from whoever's supplying it.
Sure.
Well, verify it's me. Send me the paperwork where it says I signed and did all, because it's required by law under Fair Credit Reporting.
Right.
Okay? They don't have it. They never have it. So they do. You know, first, second letter is kind of like, yeah, whatever. The third time they're like, well, whatever, delete.
They actually have to. They feel like they have to investigate it. That
well, and I think that we discussed that court case, Dixon Rollins.
Yep.
Okay, the judges or the courts ruled that they cannot just take off of a computer source. They actually have to do an investigation and get the paperwork. That's what that is all about.
Yeah.
And that's how you, and like I said, after a bunch of digging, that's how you figure out how to write this letter and say, look, according to this and that court, you know, and what the judges said. And like I said, it was over. They deleted.
So what you're referring to really is the way that the court judgments are gathered by a third-party company.
Yes.
And the fact that inside the judgment you're not allowed to have a social security number. So that also kind of creates a way where mistakes are made.
Right.
So,
But the other thing is when you ask for that documentation, you have to go to the original creditor.
okay,
They're not going to call her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at that point, it's done.
right,
And that's like I said, they kind of make you kind of string you along and make you dispute it. And that's why I say don't give up, because
Right.
eventually it will pay off.
yeah, it's going to be more than just a one
Yeah.
request. I
Yes.
mean, it's not like going to McDonald's.
No,
You've got to
it's
go
not.
up there and keep trying
Yes.
and keep trying.
Yes.
But you can be successful. I think
Very
that's very
successful.
important.
The other thing is it just doesn't have to be public records. It can be anything on your credit report. And under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, it states they have to have that contract that you signed to apply for the credit or insurance.
Mhm.
Okay? So a lot of times, like I said, they'll delete a lot of stuff on your report because they just don't have it.
They can't validate it.
They cannot validate it.
Yeah,
This was a late payment. I had 3 late payments. I just wanted the late payments gone.
okay,
It was on my truck. Now, I still owed money on the truck and they deleted it. So they can't even report on my, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do that.
well, a lot of times that'll be like a goodwill removal.
And I sent one and they never responded to me.
Oh, okay,
I was just trying to get these 3 and back again. This was in '09,
Right.
same as, and the next thing I know, they're like, deleted. I was like, oh, I didn't want to do that, so
right, but it happened.
it did.
Yeah, and so you were, after doing all this work, you were actually able to close on a home.
Yes, we were. We were able to close at a 3.6 interest rate.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it really is good.
So where do you think your score started and where do you think you wound up?
My score, I can tell you where it started, was about a 550, 575. And I knew at that point, I told my wife, I said, man, there's a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah.
To get where we need to be. Luckily, with this landlord issue, we were able to stay with my in-laws, who let me kind of run wild with this and try to figure
Right.
out. So, it's just.
Where do you think, where did you wind up? And how long did that take you?
It can be a lot quicker if you know what you're doing. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right,
So
but
it took
even
me about
somebody-
8 months.
Okay.
8 months or so.
So even somebody who really knows nothing.
Nothing, 8
about
months.
the process, 8 months. I think that's pretty
Well,
reasonable.
because you're going to make leaps and bounds after your first couple months. Now you're going to start to streamline it. Just the problem is now you have to wait for them to respond.
Yeah.
So it's 30
30
days,
days,
20
yeah.
days. They might not, sometimes it took 10 days.
Mhm.
But everyone was different when you got a response back. So we finished out at, I'm not finished yet, but we bought the house, like I said, and we
Yeah.
stopped. It was about almost a 700.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Wow, it's
Because
pretty
we got a
phenomenal.
lot of stuff cleaned out of it, it was just old kind of stuff, like almost in your attic where you're cleaning it out.
Yeah, and it really comes down to your motivation.
Absolutely, you cannot stop
Yeah.
because and make them play by the rules because you have to play by the rules. So make sure that they're playing by the rules, because they just will put anything on your credit report.
Right. Yeah, it seems like they default to putting it on, and then you've got to try to respond.
Right, and then now it's up to you to figure out how to make your way through the maze.
Wes, aside from, not giving up, is there one other piece of advice you would give somebody who was starting in this process? If you could go back 8 months and talk to yourself, what would you tell yourself?
First of all, I would have saved all that money with the credit repair company.
Okay.
Like I said, we started out not knowing anything. The other thing is when you start these disputes, my advice is to get a credit monitoring from one of the 3.
Okay.
If you just go with one of them, you'll get the new whatever it is that they put on there. It won't give you all 3, but it'll tell you
If
that something popped up on
yeah.
the other 3. So
Yeah.
that would be my piece of advice. Definitely is get credit monitoring so you know what's going on.
Okay.
And don't look at your credit score while you're disputing because it will keep you up at night because it's just like a roller coaster
Yeah.
while you're disputing.
Well, when you dispute something, it actually comes out of the FICO scoring
Right.
model. So you kind of come up higher than you really are because.
and then it sinks down
and then it
because they
sinks
kind of
down.
send it off to the side so everybody
Mhm.
can kind of really see it, but you're in a
Right.
dispute. And don't apply for any credit while you're in dispute.
Good
Nothing.
advice, yeah,
Don't
definitely.
apply for anything because inquiries count. Maybe
Yeah.
not so much against your score, but when a bank's like, well, how come you have 42 inquiries? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Don't do it. If your goal is to buy something or buy a house or car, wait till this is over before you do it.
Yeah, very good advice.
So, and don't give up. That was the biggest issue
Yeah.
was people giving up and like, oh, I can't get it done. Yes, you can.
Well, Wes, thanks so much for coming
No
in.
problem.
I do
Thanks,
appreciate
Dave.
it.